I see we have Frank the Tank, Rochelle Workman, Pedro Dominguez, Magnificent Animals, Kimber Dillon, Mysopods with me, and I think Tennyson was up there too, but it kind of ate it. So we're going to do about 45 minutes. I want to be done at least before 6. So right around that. So I see, yeah, there's Tennyson right there. Yep. Okay, good. Yeah, Ruby is due probably by about the mid-May. For those who are wondering about that. Kimber Dillon watching with the orange P. Lavis. Awesome. Are those familiar P. Lavis? They sound kind of familiar to me. Ruby did just shed yesterday. So a pre-birth shed is something that can happen with garter snakes. It doesn't always work that way, but I hope that's a good sign. See Mythos Exotics and Zero Cool, Jotaro, and Krieg's all here as well. Great to see you all here. Excellent, Kimber. Good to hear that. Oh, Zero Cool. Your first reptile show as a vendor for your birthday. Awesome. So I was thinking possibly of doing some relabeling maybe here on camera, Tennyson, since Tennyson was kind enough to send me a list of reclassifications, if you want to call it that, something like that, something along those lines, for isopods. Some of the research is being done, and a lot of the names have been changed, which is awesome because it was long overdue. And so I'm going to do the first one right here. And then maybe, so Tennyson, have you posted, you said you posted that in the Isopod Exchange. Was Isopod Exchange, right? So, could you put a link to that, Tennyson? Would that be cool? A link to that Facebook page right up here so that people can see it. That would be fantastic. I see Mr. and Mrs. Morelia here. Excellent. And, oh, Josero, congrats on the 15 corn snake eggs. That is fantastic. And those are those snow corns? I think we were talking about that at some point recently. Okay. Oh, waiting on the hog noses, huh? Okay. So this species, the one I'm working with right now, used to be Armadillidium CF Badium Casteldacia, and now it's just Armadillidium Badium Casteldacia. Okay, so Tennyson pinned it. Thank you, Tennyson, for doing that. Appreciate it. I really love these, and I just expanded the enclosure in here. They've had a few babies, a few different clutches of babies in here, the Casteldacia, but the enclosure I had them in was kind of a new enclosure and a small enclosure, too small, I think. I don't think it was giving enough of a gradient. And so now that is done. I have these done, and I just rinsed off that lid, so that's why that was wet, in case you were wondering. I'm going to put this here. We're going to start out with the next one. Put some more substrate in here. And note that because I am combining substrates from different enclosures, I do it a little differently than if I were setting up a completely new enclosure, partly because setting up an enclosure with substrate that is partly new and partly from the old enclosure is not as tricky, not as dangerous, I guess we could say, for the isopods, because they have some substrate that is at, it's microbiologically active, at least ideally it is, and it's also got the pH they're accustomed to and all that stuff. So I'm adding some new things here, you can see, but I will also be adding their old substrate and their old moss and their old hides and everything along with whatever I put in here. So it's not as sterile as it would be, and not that this is sterile particularly. This substrate has not recently been sanitized, and it's got some microbiological activity in it. So there we go. Oh, so that's going to be quite a mix, that clutch of corns. Awesome. So the new tub is a 6-quart. This was just like a new, very new bin. So they were just in a, can't remember the dimensions of that, but it's smaller than a 6-quart. It's bigger than half a 6-quart. It might be 70% of a 6-quart or something like that in size, like footprint. All right, Major's Exotic is here. Cool. And the garters, in my experience, do not bother the isopods at all, partly because isopods do not seem to be in their wheelhouse as far as food sources. This is what I'm putting in here now. I've had these guys, the Armadillidium wernerei orange, in this small display enclosure in my micro zoo area for a while, but the colony is getting kind of big for it. To be honest, it's time to move them on. You can see the springtails are really doing well in here. So I'm going to put that one right there. And put this over here in the corner. The shell, I just put it right there in the corner. And I'm going to add the substrate and the moss and everything. There's a lot of these in here, the wernerei, for the enclosure size. So I'm going to try to give them a better enclosure in terms of just giving them more space. I don't think they've had a problem with moisture gradient or anything in here, but this enclosure is just a little small for them. So, everybody see these still? Is it working? I see that Wendy Hickson just joined in. Oh wow, Yotaro, that's going to be quite a clutch. It's so fun with mini reptiles, the ones that have really been, selectively bred a lot, to be able to play with various traits, like you can with ball pythons or corn snakes, or it's getting not quite there yet in the same degree, but you can do it to some degree with garter snakes. I have, my eastern melanistic garters, and I'm looking forward to getting some flames, which are the same species and subspecies as the melanistic garters. And then when I have some flames, I want to cross them with the melanistics and then be able to produce double hets. The interesting thing about the flames is that a flame apparently only needs one copy of the gene. It's kind of like it's a codominant trait or something like that. Either dominant or codominant. I've heard different things. But you can get flame offspring from a flame cross in the first generation. Oh, excuse me. I didn't have a lot of warning on that one. So here, I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see what's going on with these wernerei as I'm moving them over. There's a lot of them. They really are getting kind of overcrowded in this small thing. So Yotaro, do you breed zebra finches too? That's awesome. I bred zebra finches years and years and years ago when I was a kid, teenager, like maybe 13, 14 years old. I had a pair of zebra finches. They were both visual wild types, but they were both het, albino apparently, because they produced an albino offspring for me. One out of a clutch of 4. And then I can't remember if I bred them again one more time or if I just stopped breeding them at that point. I honestly don't remember what happened there, or if that was their last hurrah before they passed on. Unfortunately, there was an accident with a vacuum cleaner. My mom vacuumed really close to them and scared them, and then the pair died. She wasn't quite aware of how much what kind of damage that could do to them. And I was living there, I was 13, I was living at home. And that's, not really on her. That was something that I probably should have been vacuuming more often. But we were just talking about that the other day, and it made me think of that. So I don't blame my mom at all. I blame myself for not um, keeping that area cleaner. But it is a sad thing. All right, I'm scooping substrate. This is very springtail heavy substrate, and I don't know if you can see what I'm doing now. I'm just putting a bunch of substrate in here. It's mostly dry end substrate now. There's still a lot of springtails in it because Sinella curviceta does really well. As long as they can get to a moister area, they're really, really good with that. Now that looks like a pyralis cocoon area, or silk tunnel, I should say. Okay, so here goes the last of the substrate. Trying to make sure I get all the pods out. Now the question is what I'm going to put here. And on my microzoo, what I'm going to put in the spot where these were. Should I put another different isopod species in this display enclosure? Something I have a very small colony of. What should I do? Should I save it and see what happens in terms of what's the next colony that I get, and just start one of my newer colonies in there? But you can see, the substrate is doing well when you see all of those little springtails running around in there. See, Aunt Sandy Skinks is here. Awesome. And I'm going to put, where did I put them? I have some, nope, that's the wrong one. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to kick that. I have some labels, half sub changed, and the date, so that I can keep track of when, and I'll put half there, and it might not be exactly half. In this case, it was probably more like 2/3. Sometimes it's more like 1/3, but it gives you the idea. Substrate maintenance has happened. Okay, well, we've got these, and to my knowledge, there was no real classification of this species, the Armadillidium warneri orange. I believe they were still the same. So Tennyson, yeah, the pyralis moths are a mixed blessing. They do make a great food for a lot of things. I've fed them to jumping spiders. I think I've fed them to mantids before. Not my desert, well, yeah, I've fed them to my desert beetles. If I just swat them first and then give them to my desert beetles, the desert beetles like them. Give them to my aquatic beetles. My Dinutus giant whirligig beetles munch those things like anything one's business. And I even give them to my isopods. My isopods will eat them just fine when they are, okay. Yeah, my isopods will eat them just fine when they've been smashed. They've been crushed, and they'll do well with that. Okay, now I'm trying to remember what other isopods I was going to work with today. Let's see, going to look at these Oniscus ocellus BC maples for a second. Looks like they're doing all right. I think I changed the substrate on this enclosure pretty recently. Yeah, just January. So it hasn't been very long. So they're probably okay. Just do a little bit of a poking around and make sure they look all right. Okay, so Major's exotic. Who pointed out? Frank DeTink was pointing out that they look like tiny rectangles. Yeah, that's one good way to tell. Look at this. Look at how many are going on in there. They're doing really well, I think, in this colony. Yeah, that is one good way to tell. You look at the top and see if there's any, there's a bunch of small rectangles, then it's probably time. And my spuds with me, these are Oocellus maple. Yep, BC maple. Yep. Kelsey, I see Kelsey's here as well. Yeah, these are absolutely gorgeous. These are from two different stocks. I think Scott Maroney's Finger Lakes Feeders is my original stock, and then I got some more from that anonymous donor recently who brought over tons. You can see there's lots of babies under here, under this piece of bark. Not super tiny babies, but decent number of babies. So colony seems to be doing well in general. Pretty happy with that. This colony. They're beautiful species. Yeah, major exotics. If you know what you're looking for and you see a lot of that for us, then yeah, it's fairly obvious that way. So yeah, I would say so. Let's see. What else do I need to relabel? I need to relabel the Shiro Utsuri, I think. Let me see what I have on there. Yeah, I don't need to change the label a lot, but I do need to change it a little bit. Actually, all I need to do is print out a CF. Tennyson was saying that we know that the genus is not Nezorillo, but that's their placeholder name we're using for right now. And CF, just in case you're wondering, there's a lot of different ways that has been interpreted, but it means, it's Latin for the verb is conferre, which means to confer or compare. So the idea with CF is that it has been compared to another species, and it is accepted that it looks similar, but it is not certain if it is that species or not. And so that's what CF means. It means basically, compared to this species, it looks similar to it, but it is not necessarily that species and may eventually become to be known as that species, but it is not now yet officially given that designation. So with Shiro Utsuri, let's take a look at the Shiro Utsuri right now. I have them right here. Okay, I'm gonna put these others back for a second so they're not in the way. And we'll take a look at the Shiro Utsuri. I just added a CF. There's some Shiro Utsuri, and they seem to be doing well. You can see some very small ones. Probably not officially mankai anymore. They've probably shed once already, and if they've molted once, then they're not technically mankai anymore. They usually do that pretty fast. Most species, anyway. I don't see any on that piece. Strange. Let's check this piece and see what they're doing there. Oh, not much there either. They're mostly on that other piece. I wonder if there's any on this here. Oh yeah, there's some on this piece of limestone. Quite a few on the piece of limestone as well. So the only problem with the limestone is you don't want to be super careful putting it down so you don't smash them. I think this one is probably due for a change too pretty soon. And on this one, I just have to put the CF like I did. Now there's another species I get to take the CF off of, and I think Tennyson knows which one I'm talking about, because Tennyson was the one who sent me the information. Let me put the Shiro Utsuri away and switch out immediately for another species. I'm trying to be better at not making you stare at the bare table. Yeah, someone was mentioning, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye as I was passing by. Somebody mentioned the wiggle of the antennae. Who was that? Who talked about that? Oh, it was Major's Exotic. Yeah, and Shiro Utsuri, a good one for that. Okay, so this species, we're going to take the CF off of this species because it has been confirmed to be Espagnoli, which is awesome. Because saying Armadillidium CF Espagnoli marbleized is a mouthful. It's a jaw cracker of a name. And I don't I'm happy to just be able to take off 2 syllables. That's awesome. Yeah, so CF, one more time, means it's from the Latin confere, which means to confer, CONFER, or to compare. And that's what's going on here is in this case, Armadillidium espagnoli is the correct term. That's the correct species name for this one. So we can take off the CF because it's been confirmed to be indeed espagnoli. And CF can be put in front of the species name, genus name, whatever. In this case, it was in front of the species name because we were sure of the genus but not the species. And now I can replace this one. I'm just going to put that in there now. So I'm excited about that. Pardon the coughs. So I'm going to switch the name. I'm doing that on the label right now. I do love this species. It's one of my favorite small species. They're just fun. I love the fact that they're diminutive. Love, their pattern is absolutely gorgeous and unique. There's like no other isopod that looks like that, right? And where is my other culture? I have two cultures of this one. So pardon me, I'm just going to jiggle because it's right under here. And this is I have a lot of Armadillidium over here. And this is my other culture of this species. They're everywhere. It's a pretty happy culture over here too. I should remember to bring some of these to the expo. Yeah, and I've heard Nathan is really busy working on that right now, which is awesome. We should all give him and the others who are working on this a round of applause because they're helping us out. So mysopods with me, it sounds like you're talking about Flavomarginatus, Porcellio flavomarginatus. That's when I made a recent, one of my most recent species profiles of. I don't remember if it was my most recent, but it was one of the more recent ones. That is indeed the right species. Okay. I am adjusting. Now it has the correct term on there. Just look at those beautiful patterns. So the expo I'm going to is the Wasatch Reptile Expo. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's the closest expo that occurs to me. Oh, look at those little babies on the wall back there, right there in the back. That's cool. I think we need some more leaves in here. Looking at this and thin. It's pretty bare. Got a bunch of leaves soaking in molasses water in the shed, but they're not quite ready. So I'm going to give them these dry leaves. It's better than nothing. They will eventually begin to decompose as they get wet, but as good as putting the soaked leaves in right away. Okay, I see that Therapod Hunter has left a super chat. Awesome. So Nesodilo and Venezilo mixed up. Is there any noticeable difference between the two? Good question. As far as I know, all Venezilo in the hobby are from, no, I can't even say that. I know that they are found in the US. I'm not sure. I know Venezilo arizonicus is native to the US. Venezilo parvus, I'm not sure where it's native to, but both can be found in parts of the US, but I'm not sure the range of Venezilo parvus. As far as their appearance go, I mean, when I look at Shiro Utsuri and I look at Venezilo, they look quite a bit different. Venezilo tend to be smaller, but I don't know really a lot about the specifics anatomically, so I don't want to say I don't want to say anything that might be misleading or confusing. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I wish I could give you more information, but that's what I've got. because there could be very small anatomical differences, like like Tennyson says. You might be able to look at, say, the telson, or there's something characteristic about the rostrum shape or something like that, because those are defining, often diagnostic characteristics in isopods. And now I broke my rule. Look what I did. I made the screen boring. So here's some isopods to check out while I go grab the other ones. But sorry, theropod hunter, I don't have better information for you. Oh, I see that Crystal's here as well. Excellent. Okay, I'm checking my list. I did Espanoli, Shiroutsuri. Oh, Sinodilo species Vietnam. I need to do that. Okay. There's quite a lot here that I need to do. I just have to keep my eyes on. There are so many containers I'm working with here. Okay, there it is. So this one originally said Marulanella species Vietnam, and it's long been suspected that the Marulanella were not actually Marulanella, but now it's been confirmed that they are Sinodilo. So not Marulanella at all. So I'm going to label them accordingly. Sinodilo species Vietnam. So we still don't have a species designation, an official species designation, but we do have a genus. Oh man, I just made a typo. That's no fun. There. Oh, Kimber Dillon just left a super chat. Fantastic. Thank you. And it doesn't look like there's necessarily a question attached to it, but I appreciate that, Kimber. I'll take it. That's awesome. I really appreciate the support. Very cool. So CoroWorks doesn't mind the boring screen. Okay, so Kimber Dillon, did I say maple syrup? I may have said maple syrup. And if I did, I apologize. I didn't mean to say maple syrup. I meant to say molasses. Molasses is, you add a little bit of molasses to the water. It's something I learned from Kevin Nasser of Boogie Down Bugs, as a way to speed up the decomposition of the leaves, because it helps feed the bacteria. And so if you add a little bit of molasses to the water you use to soak leaves in, then they will start to decompose faster, to the point which they'll be nutritious for isopods a lot more quickly. So it can be a good trick for that. I love how they have the little orange borders on these critters, little orange skirts. There's a lot of them in the substrate. This seems to be a very substrate active isopod. When I dig in the substrate, I tend to find them. Don't want to dig too aggressively because I don't want to hurt them. We can also see they eat a lot of leaf litter, and they've been cranking through that. So it looks like they need a little more. Fortunately, one of my kids is in charge of prepping leaf litter for me. So I have some here. Like I said, I don't have the wet leaf litter, which is better. The leaf litter that's been decomposing and is in the state of decomposition already. That's better, but these will eventually get there. So that's better than not having any at all. Okay. So I've got those relabeled now. And let's see, the other species that I need to relabel. Oh, I need to do the lavas and the palissae and the Porcellio laevis orange. Okay, let me see. Okay, sorry you're staring at the blank stuff there, so I'll just try to dispense some information. Here is, hands down, my favorite Porcellio scaber, and it is apparently a very unusual form of scaber that is strange and unusual enough to warrant its own scientific name. Oh, they're in need of some leaf litter too. Love these guys. Oh, and isopods with me. You asked about the experimental bin that had the zebras in it. There are actually zebras and Porcelio laevis in there, which is unusual. I don't usually do that, but it's an experiment uh, that I have been working on for a while. So there are indeed P. laevis in there, and that is intentional. I don't usually do that, but I am doing it in this case because that bin, ever since I set it up, has been an experiment to see how different isopods interact together. So here we go. Get a better look at these beautiful creatures. So these are Porcelio scaber CF. So the genus and species are not called into question, but the forma Lusitanus lava is the name. Hopefully I'm doing that correctly. Oh, just got another super chat from Pedro Dominguez. Where can I look for updates regarding taxonomic revisions like this? Awesome. Thank you so much, Pedro. And Tennyson is going to repost that link. So yeah, go ahead and just repost Tennyson, because I'm not sure how a mod pins a post, if that's possible to pin it. Maybe I can pin it if you put it up again. So why don't you try pinning it up again, and I will see. I mean, you try posting it, and I'll see if I can pin it. Does that work? Let me see if I can do that. I'm going to try. It's not letting me post it. Okay, well, it's not letting me pin it, but it's there. So I'm not sure why that is. Thought I could do that. Anyway, it's there, so Pedro can now access it pretty easily. Thank you. I'm having trouble pinning it, and I think it's because I'm using my iPad to film this instead of a normal computer, so I'm having trouble pinning it. So sorry, everybody. So Yotaro says, I know this is off topic, but I'm feeding Ruby's babies salmon right now, and they're acting like they haven't eaten in a month. They're cracking me up. That's awesome. I had to try salmon with mine. I haven't done that. I have done other fish. I've done silver sides and I've done endlers. Those are basically the. I think I tried. Yeah, I've done tilapia too. Those are the fish types that I've tried. They love endlers. They love silver sides. Most of the snakes love the silver sides, and they're also diamonase free, which is good. And let's see. I recently tried chicken hearts for the first time, and everybody went nuts. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but oh, Ruben, you had an interesting run-in with a raccoon, sounds like. So I'm going to put these guys away. I didn't give them. I need to give them a refresh. There's a few on this piece of bark. Just a few. Notice how some of them are almost wild type looking, and then some are almost entirely orange, and everything in between. Love that. There's some people are saying there may be some sort of like microbially or virally induced chimerism in these, and that's why they do that, which is interesting. And maybe it's genetic, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. It's interesting. But you guys need a lot more leaf litter. Don't have enough in there. Can't wait till the stuff in the garage matures, or in this shed, sorry, when the shed matures, I can start doling that out. I need to get an even bigger container for that. Okay, so the lavas are good now. As far as the label goes, they're correctly labeled. And now let's see who's going to get labeled correctly next. Oh, we need to do the palisai in the orange, the laevis orange. Okay, we just have to see where they are. This is the Croatian giant line, and or locality, I guess I should say. So it's Armadillidium CF palisai. Armadillidium CF. Oh, sorry, I just did that wrong. So I'm printing out a useless label now. Okay, try that again. CF PALLASII. That's what we want. Yeah, they do have kind of a nice shine or sheen to them, don't they? It's a little bit different from that what is on that which you see on Armadillidium vulgare. Sort of almost a pearlescence to these, I would say, as opposed to what you see in Armadillidium, which is a little bit more just glossy. Is that, if that makes sense? So Theropod Hunter, you got 4 species of isopods. What did you get? I'm gonna just take a look at this bark and see how they're doing under there. Oh yeah, look at that. This almost looks like a Paracai bin with just wall-to-wall isopods. So I moved these from a smaller container to this container. When was that? I'm just checking. Oh, I didn't get it labeled. When I usually, put a label telling when I did a substrate change and an upgrade or whatever, and I don't see it. So that's no fun. But they're doing well, obviously. So I should probably sell some of these at the expo. Granulatum Magic Potion, awesome. P and Canis Violet, Peace Caber Ghost, and Anazatum Peach. Nice ones, nice pickups there, Bud Hunter. Love it. Okay, so these are obviously thriving on this piece of bark here. Put that down. And I think I just bumped one, which I feel bad about. I hate it when I do that. I'm going to put some food. I'm actually going to give them a shell because I had a little piece of, what do you call it, a pottery tray in there, plant tray, and they don't work as well as the shells. I feel like the shells are flatter. They're easier to get in and out of. And so I'm going to put this. There we go. I can probably put a solid scoop of food in there. Let's see. Pretty big scoop of the Supreme Isopod chow because these are obviously thriving in there. Plenty of them, so. Orange Dalmatian just ate snake shed from your hand. That's awesome. I love watching isopods eat from one's hand. It's just a lot of fun. And participating in that is super fun. Oh, some isopods with me also got some free isopods. That's cool. An age asteroid, worth every penny, Frank, no matter what you paid, right? Oh, there's Kevin. Kevin Zay, welcome. Oh, I remember Random T, that video that Richard did. Okay, so Palisai's done. And obviously doing very well. Let's see if I can get my oranges up there. They're in a bigger bin. So I don't know if I can actually fit them up there, but I'm going to try. Oop, I apologize. Yeah, that's going to be weird. That is a very good deal, Frank. And I think you're on the right track there, isopods with me. If they're not my favorite isopod of all time, they're definitely my favorite Armadillidium. They might be my favorite isopod of all time. They're certainly up there. It's hard to pick. Really hard to pick. Okay, there are none on here. They're pretty much not using this stuff. But I should have a good number of them here. There's some right there. They're reproducing, obviously, doing okay, but I think they do need some more leaf litter. I need to relabel these folks. So these are now Porcellio laevis, Porcellio CF laevis, which does explain why they're not crossing with milkbacks or dairy cows. because they're a different species and they're unable to. And a lot of people are saying, oh, they must have speciated since they got into the hobby, but that does not appear to be the case. They were just always a different species. They just were misidentified as Porcelia laevis when they came into the hobby, and that led into confusion, or led to confusion. Okay, we want to see some Aquarimax. Aquarimax is honestly one of my favorite laevises. They do seem to be the actual true laevis as opposed to the non-laevis, because these are apparently not the laevis. But I do have some Aquarimax here. I recently redid their substrate. Got them right here, so I'm going to take those out. We're going to come over here. Looks like we've only got about 5 minutes left, folks. One thing I want to announce before we look too much at the Aquarimax, part of the reason I wanted to make a short live stream today is that Clint's Reptiles is going live to talk about the Holy Thursday massacre. And I've heard about it. I have a basic idea of what happened. I've seen part of the video, not all of it, but Clint's done a lot of research into it to try to understand what's going on. And I think it's important for us in the hobby to understand what's going on with that. So I wanted to pop into that live stream right when it started at 6 and get some insights from Clint on what he's learned about the Holy Thursday massacre. If you haven't heard about it, it was a terrible situation where a bunch of snakes were killed, and it looks like many of them were killed, if not all of them. There was some senseless killing going on that did not need to occur, and it was very sad. And it was done by officials, and probably there were some poor choices occurring during that time, and I need to inform myself a little bit more about it. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to watch this live stream. Oh yes, I was under the impression that dairy cows and milkbacks could cross, but that's good to get the confirmation from Nathan. So lavender tea leaves. I would be careful with mud because it's probably too moist for your isopods, and you may be introducing some nasties you don't want to introduce as well. So Mark Ash, I haven't kept Cubaris white shark, so good question, but I'm afraid I don't know much about that. It does look like we've only got about 2 minutes. I want to make sure those of you who want to tune into Clint's live stream on the Holy Thursday Massacre, you get a chance to do that. So thanks everyone for joining in. I appreciate the super chats, and I'll give you a minute to transition between this and Clint's live stream if you're going to be attending that, and I hope to see you there. And if you can't make it, I understand, but make sure to catch the replay if you can do that. Thank you everyone again, and thank you for kind of the inspiration, Tennyson, for this live stream today, relabeling some species that needed to be relabeled according to the most recent taxonomy. So I appreciate that again, Tennyson. So thank you everyone, and I'll catch you later. Once again, hope to see you in Clint's live stream in a moment here.